Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmet's casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Get your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, recruit. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another DFS Army Killshot MMA Breakdown podcast. We are taking a look at UFC on ESPN 24, Rodriguez versus Waterson. And this is a very special episode as we welcome our newest MMA GOAT, the man himself from Best Fight Picks, Dan Levy. What's up, my man?
Chilling, man. Happy to be here with you and Kyle talking fights. How's it going?
Man, it's going great. Love talking fights. Really psyched to have you on the show. And I'll just tell a little quick story again before we actually get into the breakdowns. You know, when Draftkings brought back the MMA, so we go back a long way. I don't know, we go back a long way, but we kind of do. When Draftkings brought back the MMA format back in 2000, I'm going to say 15, when they included MMA in their breakdowns. You know, I was always a fan. I had kind of given up on UFC for a few years, but I was a super fan even younger. And the first show, I said, "Hey, man, I gotta get breakdowns of these fights. I want to play it and get right back into UFC." And the first show I found was your show. At the time, you're doing it with a fellow named Flying Brian. I remember it back in the day. So we've come full circle, but I've been a fan for a long time, so I'm super psyched to have you on the show. Of course, we have BigMarley here as well, the 17-inch guns assassin. But wearing sleeves today. I don't know why. Gonna rip them.
Yeah, I wore the polo last week, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. Let me throw that on again. But yeah, good to have Dan here. I've been working with Dan for a long time now, so it's good to be reunited once again. We've done a segment on Half the Battle. We did an MMA radio together, so now it's good to have him here at DFS Army, and I'm pumped to have him on the show every week.
Awesome. Same here. So let's jump right into it, guys. We've got a pretty big card, you know, lost a little of the luster here with some changes in the main event, but still some interesting fights on this card, and we don't care. We're here to make money. So I love all fights. I like every UFC event. Doesn't matter which one, especially as long as I don't have to, study a bunch of foreign fighters that have no film anywhere, and you know those type of cards aren't that much fun. But this doesn't really have that going on. So let's get right into it, guys. And start at the bottom. Here, first fight of the night, we've got Carlston Harris taking on Christian Aguilera. Harris, slight favorite coming in at -155, and Christian Aguilera is coming back at +135. And the very important fight doesn't go to decision prop, a strong and surprising for me -180. So, newest member of the team, Dan. Let's take a look at this fight from a DraftKings scoring perspective. Tell me about Aguilera. Tell me about Harris, and tell me why we've got a -180 doesn't go to decision prop on this one. What is it? What are the handicappers seeing here to make them think it's going to finish inside the distance?
All I know is that DraftKings players, you better be targeting this fight, because if Carlston Harris wins, this is a guy that comes out there and gets multiple takedowns every single fight. I know y'all love your takedowns. I know y'all love your top control. And this is a guy that I've seen be able to land takedowns, not just in one round, but throughout a 5-round duration. And he's got a 3-round fight. He wins this fight, he's going to stack a lot of points. On the other side of things, you got Christian Aguilera. When he wins fights, it's usually a first-round knockout. I know that score is big too. So if these guys win how they normally win, I would recommend putting one of these guys on your lineup or put them on multiple lineups. It's like I said, Carlston Harris stacking up the takedowns, Christian Aguilera possibly getting a knockout. So my pick is Harris to grind him out, but I think both guys make good plays for sure.
I love it. BigMarley, thoughts on this fight? I mean, we've seen Christian Aguilera in the UFC so far, got the quick finish on Ivy, and then, took kind of a beating against Sean Brady in his last fight.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I think it's probably early knockout or bust for Aguilera in this one. I think he's going to be the best in round one, but if Harris is smart, he's going to be taking him down in round one and just taking the energy and the power away from him. But I do think if Aguilera wins, it's probably 100-plus points. He could break the slate for sure, so you do need some of them, but my preferred play is going to be Harris as well, and I think he's just going to be going for takedowns early and often, and I think he can just keep Aguilera on the ground long enough to even get a submission or a TKO stoppage at some point. But I think he has 100-plus upside even in a decision. So that's somebody I always like to target in MMA Draftkings, and I'll be all over this fight for GPP. But I really don't trust either side for cash games.
You look at a guy like Harrison, you wonder what he's been doing. He's 33 years old, just making his UFC debut right now. Has wins against pretty good opponents throughout his career. I mean, his last win against I can't even pronounce that name, but Sajid Ismagayev or whatever that is, a really strong win, and of course some current UFC veterans like Wellington Turman. So and Michel Pereira back in the day. So kind of wonder where he's been, but Christian Aguilera, not super impressive for me. A lot of energy there. So I like your call here. Get some heavy exposure to this fight. It looks really, really good. Harris is a betting line favorite, and the betting line's probably about right. I don't think I'd be betting this one. I don't like betting on UFC debutantes ever. You never know what they're going to do in that first fight. A little bit of nerves, whatever, look as good. Sometimes they look better, but sometimes they don't look as great. So yeah, I like this fight to target on DraftKings this week, and I'll agree with you guys on Harris as the pick. There we go. All right. Next up, we've got Tufan Nchukwi taking on Jun-Hyun Park. Nchukwi coming in as a -140 favorite, and the comeback on Park sitting at +120. And again, another fight. Actually, this is a little bit surprising. That doesn't go to decision prop on this one, Marley. -120. So we got a couple things going on here. Number one, Park has looked good in his UFC run, and you've got Nchukwi, who is from Cameroon. And we know that Cameroon fighters, based on Francis Ngannou, can I just assume that they're all badass, powerful, endless cardio, monsters? I don't know. So we've had good experience with the Cameroonian fighters before. And, here you've got a fight against a pretty good guy in Jun-Hyun Park. So what do you say on this one, Big Marl?
Yeah, the fight doesn't go to decision really is leading me more so to the Park side, because I think if the fight goes the distance, it's more likely that he is going to win, and more likely that he's going to score high in a win. I think Park's best chance to get a win here is going to be through the ground. Try and get as many takedowns as you can, take the power away from Taffen, and just get a 2 or 3 rounds on the scorecards. And I think he can score well doing that. But if it goes to the scorecards and Taffen wins, I just don't think he's going to score well enough to pay off a favorite price tag. But if you're targeting him, it's more for the inside the distance, in my opinion. He's a big sumbitch, and he can knock out anybody with the right shot. So I definitely think he can knock out Park. He's a good striker as well. For his size, you wouldn't really think that he's as athletic as he is, but he's a solid all-around striker. He's just green. And my worry is that he's put on his back. What's he going to do then? He's a big dude, though, and I don't know that Park can even get a guy like him down. I just think if he does have success with takedowns, he's going to tire him out along the way, and he'll just keep top control time, land those little strikes that now count like they didn't in his past fight when he should have scored like 200 DraftKings points or something like that. So I do like Park in this one as an underdog. He's one of like 3 or 4 underdogs that I'll be targeting fairly heavily. And then with Taffen, I'm not sure what I want to do with him. I think just his size and power alone will lead people to be rostering him. And I don't know that I want to get any leverage, but at the same time, I don't want to get burned by a first-round knockout. So I'll probably be around field weight, maybe a little lower. And then Park, I'm guessing I'll be overweight on him. And probably GPP only, but I don't hate Park as a cash game play, assuming we don't think he gets knocked out in the first round.
Absolutely. Dan, now take a look at the screen here. You could see the scores from Jun-Hyun Park's last couple fights. Now, I don't even know if we should count the Phillips fight at all, but what I'm obsessed with is the fact that, yeah, he only landed 10 significant strikes, but he landed 260 of those little love taps that you do when you've got a guy down on the ground and you're just trying to show the ref that you're active. Draftkings has started counting those. So in his last fight, even though it went to decision, he put up a gigantic 128 points on DraftKings, which is a monster score. And even in the fight against Marc-Andre Barriault, who I think is a reasonably okay UFC level fighter, I mean, he controlled him fully. 5 takedowns, plenty of strikes. So really interesting situation here with Park versus I'm going to call him the neophyte here with Nchukui. And Marley, I want to call you out for saying his first name. That was some weak sauce, man.
You know my style. It's always first name if you can't pronounce the last, right?
Nah, that's weak, man. You got to give it a shot, bro. Got to give it a shot. Dan, what do you say, man? A lot of big scores from Park here in his wins.
Yeah, 2 things I gotta say. Number 1, what the fuck is their problem only giving him 10 significant strikes in that last fight? That's absolutely disgusting. I mean, for him to only score 128 points when he should have scored 228 points or whatever.
Well, that's the updated score, actually. I think he scored like 70 points or something on the old system.
Yeah.
Because they only counted those 10. But yeah, I think they had to change it based on this fight alone because of all the outrage.
We went nuts. We went nuts on this one. This was like you're watching the fight going, I'm winning $100,000. You're counting your money up. And then they popped the score up and it felt like somebody punched you in the face.
Yeah, it's just unlike anything I've ever seen before in all my years watching the sport. 10 significant strikes. That's why, look, I love stats, but sometimes they're misleading. And another example of why they're misleading is, listen, I think Jung-Hyun Park is a massive trap here because if you look at the numbers and you see that, oh, he landed 5 takedowns against this guy, he landed 5 takedowns against that guy. Yeah, but those guys suck at grappling. He's dealing now with a guy in Tafon and Nchukui who comes from a jiu-jitsu camp. And you've seen from the past, these guys that come out of that gym, you remember James Vick in his prime? No one was holding down James Vick. You remember Sodiq Yusuff? No one holds down Sodiq Yusuff. And no one's going to hold down Tafon and Nchukui either. And also the big thing with Tafon, you look at a guy with a physique like that, oh, you think he's first round or bust. Well, actually, he landed 120 strikes his last fight, and his strike output increased as the fight went on. So do not judge a book by its cover. I think Jung-Hyun Park's in big trouble here, man. I think that he's not going to get his takedowns. He might get 1 at most. I think Tafon's going to get right back up. And then after that, I think that Jung-Hyun Park is going to get lit up in a way where I actually think this is a favorite or pass situation. So I'm going to go with Tafon and Nchukui to get it done.
I love it. One thing I did see about Tafon in his fight against Jamie Pickett here was some wrestling skills. Like you kind of think, in my head, I see Cameroon and for some reason I think Francis Ngannou because he's from there. And you think, all right, this is a monster striker and probably doesn't have very good wrestling. Going to need to learn that part of the game. But I mean, he was doing some wrestling against Pickett. He got up from a takedown. He definitely was able to sprawl and take the back a couple, kind of roll around to Pickett's back a few times, showing some real wrestling maneuvers in that fight. So that gives me a little bit of hope on him. He's a big man. He's just a giant. And it seems like, is he moving down in weight class here? Was he fighting at 205 in his previous fights that I saw?
Yeah, all his fights were at 205 or heavyweight until his last one. His last one was the first one at middleweight.
Okay, so
and look at his output.
That Pickett fight was at middleweight, so he's fought at this weight.
Yep.
Okay, because I was like, my goodness, he looked like a monster in that one, and I don't know how you can go down a weight class from there. So yeah, he's going to be a big guy. I think this is a fight, again, without necessarily predicting a winner. I just want exposure to this one in DraftKings because we see what Park does. If he is able to execute his takedowns, and I don't know if he will or he won't, but if he is, and he's able to control this guy, he's going to land a ton of strikes and he's going to score massive, right? If he's not able to do it, Tafon is probably going to knock him out because this is a very, very powerful man. So I like both sides of this fight. I'll go with you guys on the win pick here. I do think Park is a live underdog, though, and he's somebody I want exposure to on DraftKings. I want exposure significantly to both sides of this fight because, again, the win condition for Park is a grappling heavy. It's a grappling heavy punch fest with little taps, lots of little love taps. And the win condition for Tafon is probably a striking battle where he potentially gets himself a finish here. So I like both sides of this fight from a DraftKings point of view. All right. Next up, we've got Ryan Benoit taking on Zaruk Adeshayev. Very, very closely lined with Benoit. I know it's Benoit, but I call him Benoit. Wrestling fan from back in the day. Anyway, Benoit minus 135. Comeback on Adeshayev is plus 115. This one looks, you know what? Again, a shockingly low goes to decision prop. I'm sorry. Minus 165. I would have had this I would have expected this to be like minus 275 or something like that goes to decision. So a little bit surprising for me that the odds makers, Dan, aren't expecting this as much as I would be to go to decision. Zaruk, I don't even know what to say about that guy. 3 fights, 6 fights, hasn't looked all that great. And Benoit hadn't looked all that great either to me. So break this one down.
Yeah, tough fight to call. I mean, look, Benoit's obviously got the UFC experience. He's more seasoned. He's a very hard hitter. I remember back in the day when the flyweight division was in its infancy, the hardest hitters were always John Moraga and Ryan Benoit. Those were the 2 hardest hitters. Now we got Davison Daistugea Figueiredo, who hits much harder than all those guys. So it's awesome to see what's happened with the flyweight division. So I think it's a case where that 3-3 record is extremely misleading. He's actually 17-3 as a kickboxer. So 17 and so he is therefore 20-6 as a combat sports athlete. And this fight's going to primarily take place standing. So I do think that he's a live underdog. And I did pick him on the show, but it's not like with a lot of confidence, because like I don't recommend laying chalk on a guy like Ryan Benoit because he underperforms a lot, man, in a lot of these fights. Even some of the wins are like comeback wins. So, and at least Adeshev's finally going to get the fight he wants. It's just, is he good enough to even hang at the UFC level? So I'd personally stay away unless you think one guy's going to get a one-punch knockout.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there is concerns about the potential scoring here with 2 stand-up strikers. They're small. The knockouts don't come easy here. BigMarley, what do you think about this fight?
I agree. It's one of my least favorite fights for DraftKings because I think it's going to be a low-scoring decision win for either guy where maybe it's a 50-point decision win and that you might as well take a loss at that point. If you're targeting this fight, I think it's more so because it's going to be low-owned and maybe one guy can land the hard punch and get a high score. But on paper, I think this is a terrible fight to target. I wouldn't mind Xing out both sides, but Adeshev is a live underdog, so he's the side that's going to be harder to X out. So I'd say Adeshev or pass on this one.
Yeah, I'm going the other way with it in terms of the scoring potential. I don't really see Adeshev. He seems like a point striker. I don't see Adeshev knocking Benoit out. And what Adeshev is doing, he's just not cheap enough on DraftKings to get me excited at 7,500 for a land 80 strikes. Get me, 36 points plus another 35. This feels like a 65 to 70 point decision win for Adeshev if he gets it. So I'm going to be sketchy on him a little bit in terms of wanting to roster him. With Benoit, at least Dan's telling me that he used to be known as a big striker. I mean, I haven't seen too much of it.
Puncher.
A big puncher. Like I haven't seen too much of him knocking people out. Go back to 2015 against Sergio. But, if he was that, at least he's finally going to face somebody that's not going to go for takedowns. Maybe he can land that miracle one-shot blow in the first round. That's what it's going to take. I only want to own him to the percentage of that possibility. So I might just go in and take a look at the, kind of finish prop on Benoit. Let's see here. Inside the distance, plus 275. Let's say that's about 22%,
like 26%.
26. Got to pull some of the vigorish out of that number. So 26. But I don't even want a 3rd round finish. I pretty much need like a 1st or 2nd round finish. So that takes me down to maybe I'd be interested in a 10, 12% exposure here, maybe 15% max for him to get that fast finish. We've seen Adesanya get knocked out by Tyson M, so he definitely can be knocked out. And that would be my approach this week on that fight. All right, let's move on to the next one on the docket. We've got Ludovic Klein coming in at minus 250, taking on Mike Triziano. Haven't seen him in a little bit at plus 210. The fight doesn't go to decision. Prop is sitting at a greater than 50% minus 140. So a little bit of a shot here of a finish. Let me see here. Klein inside the distance, plus 115. Triz, a brutal plus 565. One important thing to note here, Triziano, this is a very, very widely salaried fight on DraftKings, meaning if you roster Mike Triziano, you do not need a finish. He's at 6,800. He's so cheap, he opens up pretty much everything on the card. On the flip side, with Klein, and I don't really know if Klein is good or bad. He had 9 strikes, a quick finish in his first fight. But with Klein at 9,400, we're going to need a smash score out of him, especially to surpass some other names that are up here in the higher salary range. So I can't remember who I started with last time. We'll start with you, BigMarley. I'm trying to go back and forth here. Break this one down for me. Klein, Triziano. What kind of styles are we looking at here?
Well, Triziano, we haven't even seen him in two years. He was on the Tough Show, and then he ended up being the champion of that, ended up fighting Luis Pena and won that fight. But, I mean, who knows if he's really improved over these last 2 years. I don't think there's anything special about him. But Klein is somebody that I am pretty high on. I know Dan and I were both very high on him going into his debut, and he did exactly what we thought he was going to do. I think this is a similar spot where he can keep this as a striking fight, and he's the more dangerous striker, the more just better overall striker, and I think he can win either a striking decision or a knockout in any round. I would think Triziano's best shot is to just try and weather a first-round storm, maybe go for some takedowns, tire this guy out, win rounds 2 or 3. I just don't think he's got it in him. I'm impressed with Klein. I think he is going to win the striking battle, but I don't know if he can knock Triziano out. I think Triziano looks like he's tough enough to maybe go all 3, but I am going to take Klein by knockout. The issue is his price tag, though. $9,400. He has to get that knockout for him to really pay off that value, and I'm not confident enough to be wanting to lay that price tag. So the way I kind of see this fight is as the last spot in my lineup type thing. If I have 6,800, I'm actually okay with Triziano in there. But if I have 9,400 remaining and I've already used a 9K fighter that I want, then I'm fine picking Klein and hoping for that knockout. But it's just not a fight that you have to get into your lineups, because we could see a Klein like a high 80s score here, and that's not going to help us a whole lot. So Klein is my preferred play. I am taking him by knockout, but I'm worried about the price tag and the score.
Yeah, I mean, Klein in round 1 plus 350. So, you pretty much need a first round. At 9,400, you basically need a first round finish out of Klein here to pay off. Or we can't even really guarantee that he's going to score 100 plus. What do you say here, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Ludovic Klein. Who cares if he only landed 9 strikes or whatever in his debut? Watch his other fights, man. The guy's the real deal. He's a serious striker. He's dynamic. If you watch his grappling, if he gets taken down, he can scramble back up to his feet. He started to add takedowns to the mix. I definitely think Triziano is a tougher fight than Shane Young. I mean, no disrespect to Shane Young, but like when they told me that Shane Young was fighting Klein, I was like, wait, Klein's fighting a punching bag? And then I heard that Shane Young was fighting Omar Morales. I was like, wait, Omar Morales versus a punching bag? So those are 2 of my favorite bets in the last like 365 days for sure. But that being said, Triziano's tougher than Shane Young. He's better than Shane Young. Triziano's good, man. It's just the issue with Triziano, he's more of a point striker, not really much damage threat, not really a knockout threat, probably not a takedown threat either. So I just see Triziano getting outstruck for 3 rounds. Maybe gets knocked out along the way, but I think he can kind of, once he feels the difference in firepower, I think that he'll kind of, start to kind of just survive and kind of run away and just kind of accept that he's going to lose the decision type ordeal. So yeah, maybe 9,400 is a little bit too high, but we'll see.
Yeah. My take is really, as a fantasy play, Triziano plus 210 odds, he's super cheap. opens up everything. All he needs is to eke out a split decision win, which is something he's very, very good at. I don't really expect him to do that, but I'm also not. I'm always rostering the cheapest fighter on the card. That makes for a really interesting lineup construction. And Triziano surprised us before. I mean, we didn't expect it. I think Pena was a massive favorite when he took on Triziano, and obviously Pena was a little bit overrated also, but Triz is delivered for us as an underdog. So I'm going to take some shots on him, but I agree with you guys. I think Klein is probably more likely to win. It's going to be a striking battle. Biggest thing for me is I really don't have too much interest in having a ton of Klein here. He doesn't do anything that's going to score well. And you'll see there's a couple of high ticket fighters on this card that are super likely to score like 100 plus if they win. So Klein, I think, can get there, but he'll need a fast knockout. I'm not sure that's really in the cards here that I expect it to happen. So for me, I think the DraftKings play is actually going to be Triziano, but I agree with you guys. I think Klein is definitely more likely to win this one. All right, let's move on to another fight here. And this one's a closely lined fight between Kyle Daukaus and Phil Hawes. Daukaus coming in at minus 125, and the comeback on Hawes is plus 105. I just want to get a look at their salaries here because let's see. I feel like here we go. Yeah, Hawes is 7,900. So they're salaried appropriately based on their lines. Fight doesn't go to decision. A very strong minus 205. That is great. So Dan, this is a fight between kind of like a muscled knockout artist with some other skills in Hawes taking on a grappling specialist in Daukaus. Now we all love Daukaus, and I don't know if he's the older brother or not. We all love. Is he younger? The big Daukaus is the younger one. We all love big Daukaus. We love big Dauk. This is little Dauk. So I don't know if I'm biased because of the big brother, and I've been enjoying everything he's been doing so much, but it makes me want to roster his little bro and think the Daukaus brothers are the shit. But I don't know. So Dan, break this one down for me. You think Kyle's got a shot to gas this guy out and take over late in his fight?
I mean, I think the gassing narrative is so overblown, man. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Phil Hawes who, when he was only 3-0 as a professional, they put him in there with Andrew Sanchez on The Ultimate Fighter. And we can say whatever we want about Andrew Sanchez, but like the guys that are out here beating Andrew Sanchez, Muradov, fucking Anthony Smith, like these are experienced guys, man, who've had like over 20 fights. Like Phil Hawes was 3-0, and they don't even give him like some kind of like bounce back on the regional scenes. His very next fight, he fights the PFL champion Lewis Taylor, who beat Magomedov in 30 seconds, right? And then they don't even give him a bounce back after that either. They put him in there with Julian Marquez, who's like killing it in the UFC right now. So basically, they threw this guy to the wolves before he was even ready. But after the Marquez fight, takes 2 years off. Not a single person could go past the first round with him until Imavov. And against in the Imavov fight, I was super impressed. Those entries, firstly, he's a D1 wrestler. He's not just some freak athlete. He's a D1 wrestler. He's got one punch knockout power. And in addition to that, he's a freak athlete. And the fact that he went past the first round, his last fight, I think that's a huge step in the right direction because he hasn't done that in half a decade. So now we know he can win decisions. I actually picked him to win a decision his last fight. And I just think that all the moments that Imavov had were overblown. Like people were saying going into that fight, people were saying Imavov, you know, the Russian sniper, this and that. So Imavov landed a nice punch in a fight. This guy's supposed to be this knockout artist. He wobbled Hawes. What did Hawes do? Immediately takes him to the mat and neutralizes him. So I'm very impressed with Phil Hawes, man. I think he's super underrated. People are basing people are judging him based off some shit that he did when he was like 3-0 as a pro. Now he's a grown-ass man flat out in his prime. He's a completely different guy. And if you can just build off that last experience, I think he can go far, man. And Daukaus, I like him. I just kind of think that Kyle Daukaus is just kind of average. He's an average athlete. He's an average black belt. And when I say average black belt, what I mean by that is this. There's a guy fighting later on this card named Carlos Diego Ferreira. You want to see what an elite black belt looks like? Go watch him. You want to see what an elite black belt looks like? Watch Charles do Bronx Oliveira. You want to see what an elite black belt looks like? Look at Beneil Dariush or Gilbert Durinho Burns. Those are elite black belts. Kyle Dawkins is just an average black belt. I saw Brendan Allen, who's known for taking people's backs. Brendan Allen was out here dropping Kyle Dawkins, not once, but twice. So I think that Phil Hawes is going to put it on this guy. I think the line should be flipped. And I'm not sure if it's going to be a knockout because Dawkins is a very durable guy, but my pick is Phil Hawes via decision here.
I love it. Strong take. BigMarley, what do you say on this one? Do you like Hawes like Dan here, or are you on the little Doc side?
I'm more so on the Hawes side. He's going to be one of my favorite underdogs because of his ceiling. Like, my favorite part about Hawes is his first round. Aggressiveness, power. He definitely slows down as the fight goes on. He was able to win a decision, but there was nothing impressive about him in round 3 of that last fight. And that was the round that he lost as well. So it's always going to be a worry that this guy's going to gas out just because of the size and the power that he has, and he's trying to go for that kill, and going for that kill is what tires him out. But with Dawkins, I just don't think he has any kind of power in him to knock out Hawes. So I think it would have to be a third round knockout, just Hawes completely gas type deal. It's more so the ground game. I don't know that you need to be an elite black belt to have success against Hawes. I just think it's going to be wrestling versus his jiu-jitsu, and I do favor Hawes' wrestling and power, but I do think it'll be a lot more of a sweat against Dawkins than it would be Imavov on the mat. But yeah, give me Hawes to win rounds 1 and 2 and maybe finish in one of those 2 rounds. That's really what I like about his scoring potential, is that first or second round finish. But even in his last fight, he won the decision. He scored well, 96 Draftkings points. I'll take that. So Hawes is going to be one of my guys that I'm targeting heavily. I want to say core play. I haven't built any lineups yet, but I just think I'm going to be targeting him quite a bit because I don't think Dawkins has what it takes to really slow Hawes down. It's going to be Hawes dishing out the beating, and he's going to have to tire out from that rather than Dawkins putting any sort of beating on him. So give me Hawes by early finish.
That will smash on DraftKings if that happens. Yeah, I mean, I listen, we get these kind of fights all the time. They just come up over and over again. The fast finisher looks like a monster, Abdul Razak Al Hassan style. But, you know, sometimes some of these guys, when they get wrestled a little bit and when pressure's put on them, they gas out. And when they do gas out, what ends up happening is their opponent has what is essentially a weakened opponent, and they just start scoring like crazy. You never want to be on the wrong side of a fighter. You know, when a fighter gasses out, you always want to be on the side of the other one, because that person is all of a sudden just going to town, scoring, no defense on the gassed out fighter. It's a nightmare when it's your guy. So I think that's in play. I think that could happen. I don't think that the book is written on Hawes in terms of, nope, he's great now and he has no cardio issues and he never will. That being said, can a guy like Dawkins test that? We're going to have to see. I think Dawkins has, I agree with Dan completely. Like what you said, I think he's kind of like, he's fine. He looks like a very willing grappler. He doesn't seem super athletic about it, but he seems a very willing BJJ guy. Reminds me a little bit of Brendan Allen, actually, who we saw the other day. So I agree. I like Hawes here as an underdog, but, you know, again, it's not like a situation where I'm betting it, or I definitely feel super confident about it, because if he does gas out, if he empties that tank, and we start to see Dawkins kind of come back later in this fight, he could win. But more likely than not, what you guys just said, Hawes going to come in and knock this guy out in the first round. So that can happen too. All right, let's move on. Next fight on the card. This one's pretty gross. Man, I have no interest in it. Very little. Ben Rothwell, again, a closely lined fight, taking on Philip Lins. Minus 115 for Rothwell. Minus 105 for Lins. You know, fight goes to decision, minus 155. Just not a lot of output, BigMarley, between either of these guys. Now, the last time Lins fought, I faded that, and Tanner Boser cost me a shot at the 100K. I'm not gonna lie. It was painful. He caught Lins on the back of the head there. Guy never knocks anybody out. All of a sudden, he's knocking people out. Again, I full faded it. I unfriended both of them in the last fight, and that came back to haunt me. Now, I have a lot of temptation, BigMarley, to unfriend both Philip Lins and Ben Rothwell this week. Slow. They're old. Rothwell's pretty durable. Throws like 50 punches if you're lucky over the course of 3 rounds. Do you think what's going to happen here? Is there any reason to even fuck with this one?
Yeah, I really want to just X this fight out of my player pool, but they're heavyweights, and that's always a worry with heavyweights. It only takes one shot with these big guys. Neither one of these guys have anything impressive about their games at this point, but I still think Rothwell is the better overall striker. He's more experienced. I think he has the harder hits, more likely to get the knockout, maybe more durable, and I think he's more likely to get a submission. So everything's pointing more so towards the Rothwell side, but he's not really somebody I want to invest in. And at 8,200, I don't even know that he's going to pay that off if he doesn't get a knockout. So with my hand builds, I'm just going to avoid this fight completely. But with MME, I'll probably let the DS decide. And if it gives me something like 20% of either guy, then I'll cut it in half or something like that. But if it gives me 5% of either guy, I'm totally cool with it. I really don't care for this fight, and it's got to be a knockout or bust for them to be on the optimal lineup, in my opinion.
I mean, these numbers are, knockout or these numbers are brutal, Dan. 2.5 strikes per minute on average for Lins, 3.5 strikes per minute on average for Rothwell. No grappling to really speak of. This is a knockout or bust situation, and I don't know if we're getting one of those.
Yeah, I mean, look, DraftKings, it might be tough if these guys don't get knockouts for sure, but pure pick, I got to go with Lins here. I know he's had a shitty start to his UFC career, no questions asked, and maybe Rothwell can knock him out. Rothwell hits very, very hard, but man, Rothwell badly needs those Flintstone vitamins. I mean, this is a guy that's popped twice already in his career, and you see how goddamn slow he is. Like Andrei Arlovsky was out there looking like Sonny Liston when he fought Ben Rothwell, and it's just Rothwell's too slow. I think that Philippe Lins, just don't get caught, maneuver around this guy, slightly out volume him, and you win. So I think Philippe Lins gets his first UFC win Saturday night.
Dan, I'm going to borrow an expression from you.
What's that?
Okay. One simply does not allow, Andrei Arlovsky to land like 250 strikes against them in a fight. This is a guy in that fight. That's so key. Arlovsky is like the measuring stick for, do you belong in the UFC anymore? If you can't beat Arlovsky at heavyweight, you're probably not someone who should be in the UFC anymore. You need to be out, right? That's Arlovsky. He beats you by decision when you suck to the point where you just shouldn't be in the UFC heavyweight division anymore. That's who he is. Arlovsky didn't just beat Ben Rothwell. Now, he just destroyed him. Now, I could say, I don't know what to say about that fight. Again, it was shocking to watch. It was shocking to watch it. So it just tells you this guy is just not all there anymore. Yeah, he gets a win against Stefan Struve. Big shit. The OSP thing, I don't even understand that. If I bet OSP, I lost a lot of money on that one. I accept it. Too small to fight heavyweight. I don't know. Two low output guys. But, I just don't like Ben Rothwell at all. So Lins, also I don't like, though. That's the problem. Lins is terrible. So it's a really, really gross fight. He's old also, by the way. So there's no kind of youth thing going on. I guess he's not that old for a heavyweight.
And he needs his Flintstone vitamins too.
Yeah,
right?
he might. He's on the same, he's on the same health plan that Rothwell used to be on, or he should be. So, this one's just really gross. I don't want anything to do with this fight. But I like Lins to win because Rothwell not just lost to Arlovsky, was dominated by him in such a way like that. Arlovsky hasn't dominated anyone in years. So for that reason, sure, give me Lins here to win, but I don't want anything to do with this on my DraftKings or Fanduel lineups this week. All right, next fight on the card. I like this one. We've got Amanda Ribas taking on Angie Everkill Hill. Ribas coming in as a -175, slight favorite. Comeback on Hill is +155. Fight goes to decision, -170. Hill is also really reasonably priced on DraftKings and Fanduel this week. She's a low-priced fighter. Feels like an interesting underdog, but Dan, I'll go to you on this one. Ribas, generally a submission grappler, likes to get the takedown, likes to get the sub. Went up against in her last fight, went up against someone who is very vulnerable to takedowns and being submitted. As a matter of fact, that's her primary vulnerability. And somehow Marina Rodriguez got the W against Ribas. So the question is, can Hill pull off a Marina and do the same thing? Basically fight off that those takedowns from Ribas and get herself a striking-based decision win or possibly finish.
I mean, it's not like Marina really fought off the takedowns. Marina got absolutely dominated in round 1, and right away in round 2, before she even got a chance to shoot, Marina caught her with a beautifully placed shot. I mean, we know Ribas is kind of chinny. She got knocked out in the past as well by Vienna, so this is nothing new. Maybe Hill can capitalize on something, but Hill's weakness has always been on the mat. I mean, maybe she's making slight improvements, but, she's like 36 years old, so I don't expect her to all of a sudden come out here and start submitting people or anything like that. I think Ribas is just going to get back to business, man. Like, people are down on her because she got knocked out by one of the best strikers in the division, and I don't consider Angela Hill to be up there with those people. Like, Angela Hill is out here losing to washed-up fighters. Like, Angela Hill lost to Claudia Gadelha, and she can cry robbery all she wants, but anyone with 2 eyes can see that Angela Hill lost the first round. Angela Hill won the second round. Angela Hill lost the third round. That's 29-28. I don't understand the controversy. And to take it a step further, she's acting like she beat Yan Xiaonan. I'm like, well, I counted like 14 minutes of that fight that Yan Xiaonan won. So I just think that, we're dealing with one of these delusional fighters that, isn't taking any accountability for why these fights aren't going her way. And yeah, maybe if Amanda Ribas wants to come out here and, test her hands specifically, like if she wants to, get into some pocket exchanges with Angela Hill, well, then Angela Hill can definitely win this fight. But I suspect that Amanda Ribas is only going to kick on the feet and then try to get to the mat ASAP, where historically Hill has had some big issues. I mean, Randa Marcos was out here looking like a future world champion against
don't remind
Angela
me,
Hill. So
that was one of the most, we talk about these brutal situations that I remember costing me so much money. That Marcos submission win, Marcos does it fast, scores on, was in the nuts lineup on DraftKings that week. I had completely faded her. I still have bad memories of that one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Ribas gets back to the business here. If had the last fight not happened, she'd be a bigger favorite here, but I don't do hypotheticals. The last fight did happen. She is a liability if she gets touched, but banking on a knockout at strawweight just seems like even like the people who I consider to be the best strikers in that division, like say Yan Xiaonan, even they're not out here getting knockouts. So I think that's such a rare occurrence, and I got to go with Ribas here via taking it to the mat and dominating her, possibly getting a sub.
I like it. BigMarley, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. By far the biggest edge in this mat is Ribas on the ground. I mean, even if this was a striking match, I don't know that I even give that to Hill. I think it's a lot closer there, but it's the chin that's a worry for me with Ribas. Knocked out by Poliana Viana, that's a really bad look. Knocked out by Marina Rodriguez, not such a bad look. Marina's one of the best strikers in the division. It's just kind of how she took it, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't the hardest shot. It was just a beautiful shot, like straight shot that connected in the right spot. But I am worried about her chin moving forward. I just don't think it's going to be the fight that it's really tested in. Hill's not knocking people out, and I think she's going to be at a huge disadvantage on the mat. Give me Ribas by a mauling, possible submission, but if not, a clear decision through the ground. And I think she could score well. So I do like her on DraftKings. Hill, if she wins, she's going to score well. So I can't say that I'm going to X her out of my pool, but I think she might get more ownership than I'm willing to get any leverage on. So I will be underweight to the field for sure. And I might get ballsy and just X her out of the pool, because there are some underdogs that I'm looking to target who I think have higher ceilings with more realistic win probability. So big time Ribas or pass for my hand builds right here.
There we go, man. I got to tell you, I'm definitely a little bit higher on Hill here than what it sounds like both of you guys are. Listen, if Hill can stop the takedowns, I believe she's going to piece up Ribas on the feet. I don't really think it's a close fight on the feet at all. I think she'll piece her up. I love the improvements. Hill looks better and better pretty much every time she comes out there. I do think there's something to how frequently she fights, how much she can train, kind of have it full time. And I know the age, Dan, like you mentioned the age, but she's been improving. She's looked better of recent years. And I just think it's the frequency of her fights. And one really interesting thing about the 115-pound division is, unlike, a situation with the bigger guys, when they're fighting a lot like a Cowboy Cerrone, at some point that just adds up and they start to lose their chin and the body falls apart. The Cub Swanson type of guys that, been through so many wars. You don't really get that as much in female MMA 115 at the 115-pound level. Like, you could keep fighting. So I think that frequency of fighting is an asset, not necessarily a liability. I don't, Hill shows pretty good statistical takedown defense, 76%. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, again, a lot of the other female MMA fighters don't actually have a proper technique for takedowns. They do these.
I think a lot of that is Waterson going 1 for 18 in takedowns against Hill.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Waterson style, where she tries to head and arm throw you, and it doesn't work, and that counts. But I mean, it's a number and it's there. So if Ribas can, I really, we can say all day, Ribas going to take her down and submit her, no problem. Ribas isn't that great of a wrestler either. So if she has success with the takedowns, she's going to win the fight. But if she doesn't, or if Angela can get back up, or if Angela can, be standing in the second round and keep standing for long periods of time, I think Angela's going to look better in the striking exchange. So it's just a question of, can she get up? She always fights close. They're almost always decision fights. Again, exceptions here or there, submissions here or there. But when she's standing and striking, Angela Hill's keeping that fight close. There's a very, very wide salary spread on this particular fight here, with Hill 7,400 to 8,800 on Ribas. I'm just saying I'm not Xing out Hill at all. I think she's one of the live dogs on the card. That's for me. Ribas definitely live because she can take her down and finish her in the first round. So she's got potential to be in that perfect score. I'm not touching this one in cash at all. This is a tournament only fight because I don't really think I can feel confident. There are definitely other fighters I like more at the pay up salary range that are favorites. So for me, I'm going to take a shot here on Hill as an underdog on DraftKings for that purpose. Ribas, in order for her to do what she needs to do, she can control the fight for 3 rounds with takedowns. I'm just not 100% sure she'll be able to pull that off. All right, here we go. I think this is my favorite fight on the card, guys. This is the one I want to see the most. We've got Sir Gregor Gillespie taking on Diego Ferreira. Very closely lined fight here, with Gregor coming in at minus 175 and Ferreira coming back at plus 155. The fight goes to decision. Prop is a pretty significant minus 150, so above 50% that this fight will go to decision. Now, BigMarley, we love Sir Gregor. Dude is relentless with all those takedowns. He's taken on Ferreira, who was taken down pretty comfortably in his last fight by my guy, Beneil Dariush, right? So he can be taken down. But Ferreira's got that BJJ. He's got the submission game. You're on top of him. He's going to be throwing up subs the whole time. Which way are you leaning on this one?
I'm leaning towards the Gregor side, but I'm definitely interested in this fight. It is one of my favorites as well. And I think the ground is what makes it interesting. If this is a striking fight, I think it's a pretty close matchup. And almost 50-50. Like, I wouldn't favor Gregor as much as he's favored now, and I wouldn't price him as high as he is now if I knew this was going to be a striking match. And it very well could be. Maybe he's too nervous to go to the ground with Ferreira, who is very dangerous there. So that's my big worry. But I think Gregor has the ability to chain wrestle anybody in the UFC for the most part, and just his ceiling is unmatched by the majority of fighters in the league. So I'm always going to like Gregor, and I do think he can go out there and have a lot of success with takedowns and top control time, ground strikes. But every second on the mat is going to be a sweat with the Ferreira down there, and I'm not so sure that he can't tap him out. So the submission's a worry, and this being a striking match is a worry. But I think on the Ferreira side, if he wins it all, he's going to score well whether that be a submission or if this is a striking match, he could put out the volume to score an optimal lineup score against Gregor here, where I think if it's a striking match, it's going to be really hard for Gregor to get up there. So I like both sides of this, but I'm going to side with the wrestler. I think he can get it done by unanimous decision. Just stay away from the submissions and try and keep a dominant top control game. Just give me Gregor.
There we go. Dan, do you think that someone like Gregor is going to be concerned about the BJJ of Fahea and slow down on his generally relentless takedown pace?
It's a good question. There's a lot of questions about the mentality of Gregor Gillespie. Where's he been? I mean, like the one time he fought a top 10 guy, he got blown out the water in a way where we never heard from him ever again. And that fight he was supposed to have against Brad Riddell, I thought that was the perfect bounce back fight. You're telling me a D1 champ is taking on an Australian striker? I was like, this is perfect for Gregor to get back on track. The issue here, guys, is he ain't fighting an Australian striker. He's not just fighting some regular black belt. I remember when I was talking about how Kyle Dock is, he's an average black belt, whatever. Now he's dealing with an elite black belt. So this is kind of like the equivalent of jumping into the ocean with a great white shark versus before, he was jumping into the ocean with minnows and, a couple little fish, no big deal. This ain't no little fish. And you want to go on UFC stats and talk about how Beneil Dariush landed a couple takedowns. Well, listen, that fight got fight of the night. Tell me the last time that someone laid on someone for 15 straight minutes and got fight of the night. Never, because Beneil Dariush wasn't able to hold top position because of how goddamn good Diego Ferreira's jiu-jitsu is. And some of those, basically, you can say, oh, but he's only gotten 2 submissions in his UFC career. Yeah, but look at how he uses his jiu-jitsu to get back up to his feet. You look at how he uses his jiu-jitsu to get on top. And I think that if Gregor tries to take him down, I think Gregor is in a big world of hurt here, man. And I think he's actually going to get submitted Saturday night. Listen, I'm not sold on Gregor being a future title challenger. I respect those wrestling credentials, probably some of the best in the entire sport, but like we're talking about a guy that was having fight of the night with Jason Gonzalez, like a guy that's having like sketchy moments versus bums, like whereas Diego is going 50-50 with Beneil Dariush, who's a top 5 guy. I just think it's a completely different caliber here, and I think it's one that Gregor's not ready for at this point in his career, man. He goes from putting everybody to sleep against Yancy Medeiros and Vince Pichel. You get your step up against Kevin Lee. You get blown out the water. And now you're fighting a guy that's even better than Kevin Lee. So, yeah, I think Diego's going to submit him. I think he's a live dog. And I'm very excited to see how this one plays out.
Is the window closing on Gillespie as a potential title contender? He's 34 years old. He has to win this fight if he's ever going to have a chance.
Title contender, like what? Like
yeah,
who the hell is he? Who the hell is this guy beat to talk about even being a top 15 guy?
I mean, he looks so good. Everything about this guy. He came onto the scene. He's just tearing through everybody. And obviously the Kevin Lee fight was a real, kind of disaster for his career, because that was hey, you get this win, top 5 after this fight, and he got decimated.
I mean, look, man, obviously you got to respect those wrestling credentials. It's going to work. But like now we're dealing with the elite of the elite in the most talent stacked division in the entire sport. And it's not enough to just be a good wrestler anymore, or a great wrestler. That's not enough at the high end of the UFC lightweight division. People can say, well, Khabib won guys, Khabib was out here dropping Conor McGregor. Khabib's grappling is so dominant that people sleep on his striking. Khabib was out here putting on a jab clinic against Ally Akinta. Like, Khabib can bang. Gregor is not on that level. Gregor's nowhere near that level. So I think he's a good fighter. I think he's talented. Don't get me wrong, but I think people need to pump the brakes on this hype. It's insane, in my opinion. And I could be way wrong. Look, if he comes out here and he neutralizes Diego and lays on him for 15 straight minutes, let's say he puts everyone to sleep and it's a boring fight, I'll actually stand up and clap, because I'll be blown away if he can neutralize a guy like Diego Ferreira on the mat.
There we go. And really that's really what it comes down to from a scoring perspective and just who's going to win perspective, right? If Gregor's not chaining takedowns, there's nothing. His striking is not particularly special. Never saw anything about it that was impressive. His superpower is his gas tank and ability to take you down again and again, Mirav Dawashvili style. So Yeah, if he's not doing that, he's going to be in a world of hurt. He does have an opponent here that could threaten. I think he's getting takedowns, by the way. I think he will get takedowns in this fight. Yeah, I have no doubt he's going to get some. What he does after the takedown, that I don't know. He's getting the takedown. He's going for it. He's getting it. But what is he going to do after that? I don't know. What's Diego going to do from bottom position to get right back up? So we're going to have to see. It's going to be interesting. But I will say, in looking at this card, normally when Sir Gregor is on a card, I'm all over that dude. Every single time, loaded up, 100%, all in. He's scored massive in his wins every time. But again, there were a couple fights on this card. We're going to get to one in a minute, I think, coming up next, where the winner in the same salary range should outscore or has just as much or more potential to smash. And I'd say, especially with this next fight coming up, same salary just about, where if that guy wins, he's got a great chance of outscoring, and he's got a better chance of winning the fight. So there are some other fights that interest me to the point where I'm not going all in on Gregor here. And your breakdown of Diego is making me rethink even kind of keeping him as a cash play here. The safety of the play is probably a concern. So I like the call. Good breakdown, guys. And I'm still probably going to pick Gillespie. I'm still picking Gillespie to win this fight. But Dan, you guys, you give me a little reason for pause here. So I'm rethinking my whole world is blowing up in front of me right now. It's happening. All right. The aforementioned fight where I think the potential winner could smash. You've got a couple of low-level heavyweights here in a fight with a massive inside the distance prop. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, a -190 favorite, taking on Mo, I smoke cigarettes and pound brews before my fights, bitch, Green, in a heavyweight battle where De Lima's coming in at -190, Green comeback +165. Fight doesn't go to decision, -350. Somebody is going down. Now, Dan, every Rogerio de Lima fight seems to end in the first. He knocks you out in the first round. That's what he's good at. He's not a good fighter. I see this guy getting knocked out all the time, but it seems like he's either finishing you in the first round or he loses the fight. That's Marcos Rogerio de Lima's career. And now he's going up against Mo Green, who I'm not sure is even a UFC fighter at all. I don't know. He got that crazy submission miracle in that one fight where he was losing the whole time to who the hell was it? Where did he get that submission? Was that Gian Vellante? He's losing to Gian Vellante.
Well, hold on. All three judges had it 2-0. Maurice Green going to the third.
What? Really?
What happened was Maurice got dropped in the third, and then he submitted him.
All right. Well, is that what it was? Yeah, but Gian Vellante's so free. He's like the worst fighter. He sucks. All right. He sucks to a special degree where I can't understand how he's actually in the UFC. It's ridiculous that he fights in the UFC, but nonetheless, he gets dropped by Gian Vellante. Looked terrible so far. I don't like Mo Green at all as a fighter, but you tell me, you break this one down for me, man, because you got Rogerio de Lima. He's looked pretty good, in that first round when he's finishing people, and then he looks like shit later on when he's getting finished.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've made so much money fading Rogerio because he's a guy that'll tap out to stuff that's not even locked in. I remember cashing on Antigulov. I think it was like under 2 minutes. Cashed in on Krylov as well. Even cashed on Romanov. So I've had a good history fading him. And I did cash on Maurice in that Gian Vellante fight. He definitely gave me a sweat. But when I saw Vellante, 6 months pregnant at the weigh-ins, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm betting Maurice Green here. I heard that Maurice Green went back to the drawing board. I heard he put on some size. Hopefully that helps. It's a tough one to call because I can see De Lima busting him up on the feet. It's just if this hits the mat one time, not that Maurice Green is some whiz or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that, but I've seen like this guy De Lima will tap out to stuff that's not even locked in. Like that choke against Antigulov. Like go watch that again. That's not some traditional guillotine or anything like that. The Krylov choke, that wasn't even a locked-in rear naked choke either. The last fight against Romanov, now granted, he didn't tap, he went to sleep, but a forearm choke. Like, he's getting tapped out by some shit that you should not be getting tapped out by. I really don't know how this one's going to play out, except I really do see De Lima piecing him up in the early going and then finding some way to fuck it up. So I'm going to go with Maurice Green via late sub.
There we go. BigMarley, Dan mentioned, some of those losses by De Lima to some submission guys. And, I throw this back. All of those fights that you mentioned, Dan, I expected Antigulov to win. They were all situations where I would imagine he was the underdog. But more so, we kind of expected those guys to come in and sub him. I mean, Gadzhimurad and Antigulov, he's going for takedowns every second of the fight. I mean, if he's not getting knocked out, he's submitting you. Krylov is a good submission guy. And so, we kind of expected that from those guys. Even OSP, the Von Flue specialist. It's kind of what you'd expect to happen with De Lima. Mo Green has never gone for a takedown in the UFC. So, yeah, he could bring it. You know what I'm saying? But what if he doesn't and they're standing? Can Mo Green piece up De Lima on the feet? Those other guys were takedown guys. Mo Green hasn't gone for a takedown yet. So I don't know. What do you say, Big Marl?
I see De Lima being better everywhere round one and dangerous too. If he's going to win, it's most likely, I think, round one or the first half of round two. So if De Lima wins, I think he scores well. Has one of the higher ceilings on the slate with that finishing potential. But if he doesn't get that finish in the first half of this fight, I think he's going to get finished himself. And the second half of this fight, I expect Green to look better everywhere, whether that be the striking or the submission game. So just a great fight to target for GPPs. Don't touch this fight in cash games. I'll be more so on the De Lima side just because I think he is the guy with the 100-plus point upside. He should look pretty good in round one. Green probably doesn't look too good in round one. And even if Green does get it like a third-round submission, I don't know that that's going to put him high enough to be on the optimal lineup. But I definitely do like Green as an underdog because one of the more live dogs, one of the more live to get a finish dogs. I'm just going to take the guy who's going to look more dangerous early.
Yeah, I mean, the minus 350 doesn't go to decision prop tells you have a lot of exposure to this fight. Somebody's probably going out. And, I think you guys both broke it down really, really solid. De Lima's going to come out hot. But, Green has submitted fighters in the past. He's done it. And he's one of these guys, he's crafty a little bit. He's a little crafty. That submission against Gian Vellante proved like a little of that craftiness there, throwing up a sub from bottom position. Gonna have to see how it goes. I don't really have. I'm leaning De Lima here too, just because I think Green is really just a bad fighter, but De Lima's pretty bad too. So it's always tough when both guys are really just low level. Tough to know. But what we do know is just load up on this fight. And again, like you said, Marley, if Green does win, he's scoring a shit ton. He's only 7K. He's going to make value. So if he wins, he's somebody you want in your lineup. You want those kind of guys. So I'm down with that, but I am picking Rogerio De Lima to get this win. All right. Next up, we've got Jeffrey Neal taking on Neal Magny. We're going to call him Jeffrey and Magny just to avoid any confusion, because it's very easy when the word Neal is in both names to be confused. So, Jeff, the favorite here at minus 190 with Magny, a plus 165 underdog. It is 50-50 here, minus 125 to go to decision. Now, Big Marley, if you look at Jeff Neal, he's got pretty good takedown defense. I believe it's somewhere in the 90% range. Magny, you would think, would have a better shot at this win if he goes grappling heavy with it. That's how we've seen him kind of smother some other fighters recently. Is that 92% takedown defense on Neal sort of hyped up based on, he's got a fight against Bilal here. Perry. So guys who do go for takedowns, he's up there pretty well. Magny's going to want to get this fight to the ground, I think. Do you think Jeffrey can keep it standing?
Yeah, I think he can. And mostly because of that Bilal fight. His takedown defense in that fight was amazing. Yeah. Like he's got one arm on the mat and he's refusing to get taken down. That and then his striking game have just completely sold me on Jeff Neal as a fighter. I thought he was the best striker in the division. And then Wonderboy proved that wrong. But I'm still saying Jeff Neal's probably number 2 or 3. Usman's up there at this point too. But give me Jeff Neal to get a knockout here. I just think he's a much better striker. I think he's the best striker Magny's faced, and Magny's been knocked out by plenty of guys that I think Neal would be beating at this point. But Magny, for him to win this fight, he's going to need to clinch this fight up, make it a slower fight where he's just keeping Jeff against the cage or working for takedowns, keeping top control. I just don't think he's good enough to do that. Give me Neal to stuff takedowns and get a knockout at some point. And when he does get knockouts, he scores highly. If he doesn't get a knockout, I'm guessing he's probably going to be spending some time on his back or against the cage, and that's going to take away from the points that he could be scoring. And that will keep me away from making like him a core play. But I do want to be overweight to the field on Jeff Neal, and I'll be underweight to the field on Magny, maybe even a full fade, just because I am pretty confident in Jeff Neal on this one.
All right, Dan, what do you say here, man? You think Jeff Neal can keep this one standing and sort of flip the script on what Magny has been doing to squeak out some of these wins recently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced that Neal Magny necessarily is going to be just adamantly looking for takedowns. He uses that long ass striking to keep these guys at bay, and then once they're gassed out, then he mixes in those body lock takedowns and is able to get them down. So I got questions about Jeff. You know, he almost died. He had sepsis. He had heart failure, and then he got completely outclassed his last fight. I understand it's Wonder Boy. I just have questions of, you know, if we're still dealing with the same Jeff Neal that I know and love, that I thought is going to be a future top 5 guy, and he's probably going to blow Neal Magny out the water. It's just, you know, like I said, he almost died. We don't know if
Tell me about was this a COVID thing?
No. He had sepsis and congenital heart failure, and he was in the hospital and almost died. And then a couple months later, he got COVID too. But the COVID isn't what almost killed him. He was dealing with some shit. So,
and this was all after the Stephen Thompson fight?
No, before.
Oh, okay. That was before. Okay.
So he almost dies. Then he fights Wonder Boy, doesn't win a single round in that fight. So like, was it because Wonder Boy is just the better guy, or is Jeff no longer the same guy that I knew and loved? Because like the examples Marley points out, like that Bilal fight, yeah, I always think about that fucking takedown. That one-handed post he had, like that shit was nasty, man. Like if you give me the same Jeff Neal that I was saying was going to be a top 5 guy, he's winning this fight, period, point blank. He's too fast. Also, don't sleep on his grappling. You saw some of those takedowns he hit on Nico Price. It's just, are we dealing with the same guy? Because if we're not, then Magny has a way when he's the underdog of coming out here and upsetting people and make people fight uncharacteristically. Like, what's Li Jingliang known for? He's known for knocking people out. Why was Li Jingliang out there trying to wrestle Neal Magny? What's Robbie Lawler known for? Robbie's known for knocking people out. Why was Robbie out there gassing himself out trying to wrestle against Neal? So people can fight uncharacteristic against Neal Magny at times. So as long as Jeff Neal doesn't do that, doesn't fall into that trap, I think he should win this fight. I just kind of want to see how he looks, man, because he's been through a lot.
Yeah, I hear you there. I think with Magny, his striking is nice, but it's probably significantly lower level than what Jeff has been doing, which is why I kind of think his path to victory is kind of like what he did against Li Jingliang, which is, all right, I don't really want to stand with this guy. Let me smother him, use my big body to sort of smother him and take him down and get on top and do all of that. So I think that in that sense, that takedown defense really comes into play here. If it's standing, and again, I can't predict whether the sepsis and the heart failure and all of that stuff is, how do I not a fucking doctor. I don't know. But, you know, the guy that I saw that's looked like a really, really crisp striker, beating the snot out of a Nico Price not long ago, and when Nico Price was even still sort of on the hype train a little bit, that guy should be able to piece up Magny on the feet. He should. So I like Neal here. I like Jeff Neal. I like Jeff Neal here to get this win. But you're right. Listen, Magny has come through again and again and again as an underdog for us. always underrated by the books. So you never want to count him out. He's certainly somebody I think you want to have some exposure to in your lineups. But I don't really see actually a great score coming out of Magny regardless, because, if he's getting this win, probably grind out a tough split decision or something like that. I'm not sure I see a big score coming. He should not be able to execute those grappling points. So going to be tough for him to score well outside of landing some sort of finishing blow or some crazy thing like that happening. So I'm not going to have too much Magny in this spot. I'm more interested in Jeff Neal by far. All right, co-main event. Got Donald Cowboy Cerrone. That's BigMarley's favorite fighter for many, many years. Made a lot of money on Cowboy bets, but now he's old. Now he's slow. Now he's not elite or even close to it anymore, but he's going up against somebody pretty mediocre here in Alex Morono. Cowboys coming in at minus 190 as the favorite, with a comeback on Morono at plus 165. The fight goes to decision is a significant minus 175. So BigMarley, I'll start with you. You're a big, you're a Cowboy guy, man, through and through. But he hasn't looked that great. He hasn't looked that great lately, man.
Yeah, back when I was just purely fan only, Cowboy was always my favorite fighter. So he's one of the last guys that I'm actually like a fan of. I'm trying to just get rid of any kind of fandom at all and just look at it more from a gambling perspective instead. But that bias is always going to be there. I'm always going to like Cowboy. And I think this is a great matchup for him. Not as great as Diego Sanchez would have been, but this is right up there, in my opinion, for fights that make sense, that are very winnable for Cowboy. I think he's the better fighter everywhere here, the better striker, the better grappler, the better wrestler. My concerns would be his age, his durability, and maybe Morono's volume. I mean, I don't even know. He only landed 31 significant strikes against Pettis in his last fight, but before that he landed 176 against McKee. I think if he is going to come at this with the volume approach, he could have success with Cerrone. And I think it would be more so early while Cerrone's really Cerrone doesn't even know he's in a fight yet. I think it's going to take him a couple times to be punched in the face to really get the gears in motion. But I just think it's a great matchup, and Cerrone is more likely to finish in every round, I think. I don't see him slowing down in this one. And I think he's more likely, even with his durability issues, I don't think Morono's a guy with power who's really going to test that, and I think Cerrone's more likely to get the knockout. So give me Cerrone. I like him in DraftKings. I like him in all formats, and I think he gets the job done pretty clearly here, unless it's just not the same guy. I think it'll have to be a different Cerrone, just an old washed Cerrone for Morono to beat him. But if Morono beats him, I'm going to have to kiss those days of betting and going all in on Cerrone goodbye.
And I just want to point out, you're not making a bet recommendation on Cerrone right here, right now.
I don't know, though. He is one of my bets I'm considering.
Really? Yeah. See, that knockout risk. Outside of that, I mean, it's a little scary to put any kind of trust in him at his age, but I agree with you. It's almost like you read my notes there about just Cerrone being better at all things MMA than Morono. Dan, what's your take on this one?
I mean, I don't give a shit if he's washed up. Morono ain't beating him. I mean, there's levels to this, guys. Like, just because, Justin Gaethje and Conor McGregor and all these good guys are out here beating Cerrone, like, and even, it used to be a thing where you'd have to be at least a top 5 guy or better to beat Cerrone. So yeah, now he's losing to top 15 and top 20 guys. Like Nico Price is probably a top 20, top 25 guy. And they had a great competitive fight. No big deal, but he ain't about to lose to top 50 guys, top 70 guys like Morono. Like knockout threat. Like who the hell is Morono knocked out? Like, and I'm not disrespecting Morono. I max bet Morono to beat Josh Berkman, so I'm fully aware of him. But I also remember the stunt he pulled against Jordan Meehan, and yeah, I mean, like, this is such a winnable fight for Cowboy in every area. He's a better striker, he's a better grappler, he's more experienced, he's taller, longer, he's just got him covered literally everywhere. Even look, I don't care if it's his retirement fight, he's better than Alex Morono. He's gonna whoop on Alex Morono. Like, he has to be done to a point of like Chuck Liddell, where like, literally, you throw a paper ball at his chin and he goes down. Like, and I just don't see that happen. He just went to a draw with Nico Price and he won the last round. So Like, I think Alex Morano is in big trouble Saturday night, and I look forward to seeing the legend go out on a win.
I hope he's not going out, Dan. I hope it's not the last we see of Cowboy here. But yeah, I totally agree. Morano has been, listen, Josh Berkman had been knocked out like 7 fights in a row before that fight. Like,
and they gave me under -250 for that. Thank you.
It's I remember that, and I remember your bet, and I followed you on that one at the time because it was ridiculous. But Morano never impressed me either. I don't think he's very good. Yeah, my biggest question in this fight is how much is it going to score? Can Cowboy has scored really well in the past in some of his wins when he gets that finish. Yeah, you remember that combination finish. I think it was against
Rick Story.
There we go. That combo. I could still see it. It was because fucking right out of the Street Fighter video game, and here he is doing it on screen. So he scored really well in that fight. But, if this goes to decision and they're just kind of standing around, dancing around, then, the score, the DraftKings score is not going to be the best. So, Cowboys scored well in his win. I mean, there's no denying it. But a lot of those have been finishes or submissions, whatever it is. Can he do it again? Can he get 100-plus points here at 8,400 or anywhere near it? I'm not sure at the same. I think if this was 3 years ago, I'm looking for that first or second round submission win. And Morano's actually got some BJJ credentials. I mean, he's a black belt from somewhere.
Exactly, from somewhere. It's just like Kyle Dawkins. Like, he's just a black belt. We're not talking about Carlos Diego Ferreira. We're not talking about Gilbert Durinho. He's just another black belt. No big deal. Cub Swanson's a black belt too.
Yeah, well, that's right. From somewhere. I don't know where. He's a black belt, Morano. I don't like his name either. I got to tell you, what the fuck is the Great White? What is that? What is that?
Great White Shark.
No, he doesn't say shark. He calls himself the Great White, and I don't understand. What the fuck.
It's not some, like, he trains at Fortis with all black dudes.
I know, but it's just a weird choice of a name, man. I don't like it. It's a terrible nickname. One of the worst I've seen, and that bothers me. I don't like bad nicknames. I don't care what the reason is. I just don't like it. But yeah, overall, listen, this is down to Cowboy Cerrone. If he goes down to Morano, man, that's a sad end for him. That would be the worst thing to go out on. So I hope that doesn't happen. I do like Cowboy. He's -190. The best part about this fight is you're getting incredible line value on DraftKings because at -190 for 8,400, you're basically getting a guy at 8,400 at the same odds as someone like Jeff Neal who's costing 9K. So, Cowboys win odds here at -190 are about the same as Marina Rodriguez. You got to pay over 9K for her. They're the same as Jeffrey Neal. You got to pay 9K for him. They're the same as Rogerio de Lima. They're better than Gregor, who's priced massively above. So Cowboy is the odds value guy. I hate to say it, but when you play DFS MMA and you want to win money, especially in cash games, you need to accept this line value. So for me, Cowboy is one of these guys that's live in every single format, especially cash. Give me -190 for 8,400 on a guy whose real only path to a loss and the only loss condition that I see for Cowboy in this one is going to be he's old and he just gets knocked the fuck out because he's old. That's it. You're old. You can always get knocked out when you're old. That's what happens in age. I'm fucking old. I know what's up. I get up in the morning, I got pains, bro. I know, I feel that. You probably look at me funny, I get knocked out. Like, just look at me funny. I'm like, what happened? I get up too fast, bro. Sometimes I get up too fast from this chair. I get a little head rush. Get a little dizzy. So me and Cowboy, we're like this. We're on the same tip when it comes to that stuff. I get it, but I don't think that's going to happen here. And BigMarley, after this, remind me not to stand up too quick because I'm not even fucking kidding. Sometimes I get a little head rush, a little dizzy standing up too fast.
I feel you, man. I'm getting up there too.
Yeah, it's not even funny. All right, let's go on to the main event of the evening. We've got Marina Rodriguez, a.k.a. M-Rod, taking on Michelle Waterson. M-Rod coming in at -200 with the Karate Hottie coming back at +170. Loves me some Karate Hottie. Loves me some Marina Rodriguez. I like this fight. I don't like it as a main event, but I like this fight. And we've got a fight goes to decision prop, a very, very high -205. So, Dan, one of the first things I look at when I'm trying to kind of come up with cash lineups, we always look at the main event, right? For cash games on DraftKings, because we're going to get 5 rounds of action. So what we like to do is stack the main event in cash games as long as that situation is going to present where it's a high likelihood that we'll go to decision. It's a high likelihood we're going to get lots of strikes from 2 sides, takedowns. This, to me, is the ultimate stack this game in cash. Close your eyes. Don't worry about who wins. Just stack it. Get exposure to both sides. 5 rounds of striking. -200 goes to decision. I do think Marina is live for a finish, but I don't think it matters. So what do you think about that? Stacking this one in cash, first of all. And second of all, how do you think this fight plays out?
I don't know about the stack, man. I don't know about the stack because, I mean, it's like on the Waterson side, it looked three judo throws and she wins this fight, right? You know, Marina's ground game, it's not that her ground game sucks, because it doesn't suck. If her ground game sucks, she'd have been submitted every single time she got taken out. So her ground game doesn't suck. Her takedown defense sucks, and her get-up game is not the best. But to say her ground game sucks means that you don't truly know what you're watching. Because, again, if Cynthia Calvillo is on top of you and your ground game truly sucks, then how come Cynthia didn't get the finish? So her ground game doesn't suck. She just can't wrestle. And it's frustrating because it's like, Marina, if we could just improve our wrestling this much, like we could contend for a title one day. Like if I could be Marina's manager, the first thing I'd do is send her to Alpha Male. Go patch up that wrestling, and all of a sudden you're going to be even more of a problem because you've already got top 3 striking in the division. I think, you know, Yan Zhaona and Rose Namajunas are the best strikers. Ioane and Jacek, Wiley Zhang, those are the top 5 strikers in the division, in my opinion. So Marina's right up there, and I see Marina challenging for a title one day down the line, you know, contingent on her patching up this fucking get-up game issue, man. Waterson, look, she's got a nice sidekick, a nice head and arm throw, and she's extremely good looking. I think those are the 3 things she's got going for her, man. And if she can get these 3 judo throws, and why I say 3 judo throws is because she gets 1, most likely Marina's not getting up. That round's over. Get 3 of them, 3 of 5. That's a 48-47. But I think she'll get 1 or 2. And don't forget about that time she took Joanna's back. So Michelle should not be slept on. But man, on the feet, Marina just has a different, her technique is better, her accuracy, her power, her length, everything. She's got so many edges on the feet. I think she's going to bully the karate hottie around the cage, and just hopefully when she hits the mat, she doesn't get subbed or anything like that, and hopefully she doesn't get taken down 3 times. But I see Marina either getting a late TKO or maybe a 49-46 type decision here.
There we go. I like it. Like the breakdown. BigMarley, what do you say? This is the main event. Marina Rodriguez, clearly, you know, a more dangerous striker. She's got that knockout power. Hottie has those skills for the takedowns, but she's no Colby Covington here either. You know, she's not relentlessly going for takedowns in most of her fights. So, but that is the path to victory against Marina Rodriguez. If I'm Michelle Waterson's coach, I'm going, go in there, you know, get the takedown as fast as you can. Don't even fuck around. What do you think, Marley?
Yeah, I really have nothing to add. Breakdown-wise, I think Dan nailed it. It's Waterson through the ground or Marina beats her on the feet. And I think Waterson can get a submission on the ground, score highly that way. But whatever, any win from Waterson is going to be cool at $7K. I do like Waterson because of her price tag. I expected her to be a little bit more expensive. But if she wins a 5-round fight, she's going to pay that off. And she has 100-plus point upside, too, with her takedown, top control time, the little strikes that she'll be landing along the way. So my preferred play is actually going to be Waterson on DraftKings just because of that $9,200 price tag from Marina. I think she can get the TKO, but I think that's almost as likely as Waterson getting a submission. I mean, Waterson was kicked across the octagon by Rose Namajunas. It wouldn't shock me to see Marina do the same thing. I just think that most likely they're going to survive. This is going to go 5 rounds. And I think Marina gets the best of her on the feet, gets a decision win. But I don't know that she's going to pay off a $9,200 price tag, especially if she's spending any time on her back, because she just does not have any interest in getting up at all. She'll just sit there on her back throwing elbows the whole time. And, I mean, that looks good. I thought she won the fight against Carla Esparza being on her back for 9 minutes just because she's the more active fighter off her back. I don't think she can really do that in this one. I think Waterson will be a lot more active on the ground than somebody like Esparza, and I think she'll be more likely to get a submission as well, or at least going for a submission where Marina will have to be fighting that off. So I think there's going to be too much time where Marina's not scoring very many points. So my favorite way to target this is either going to be Waterson or fade, with probably the fade being my favorite thing to do. Because it's the main event. Main events always are going to carry the ownership, and if Marina gets a decision win here, let's say it's an 88-point decision win. That's what she scored in her last fight, actually. She got a knockout. She only scored 88 points. So let's say she does that again here. I think there's a good chance she's not on the optimal lineup. So I think a fade is going to be my most, at least hand-built way to build lineups. So I'm kind of going to let the DS decide on this one, but it'll be, if I get leverage on either one, it would be Waterson, because she's 7K. She's going to pay off that salary in a win, where I don't know that Marina can get 10x of a $9,200 price tag. But give me Marina on the feet. She gets 3 of the 5 rounds, gets a decision win. I just don't think she gets a knockdown or any takedowns or anything other than striking points to get her score where it really needs to be in 100 plus, and I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I was just, it's funny, the breakdown, I was like, reading right off the notes is very, very similar what I broke it down, where, you know, if Waterson wins, it's going to be grappling heavy, probably, you know, she's going to score well. But with Marina at 9,200, she's now competing with a group of fighters that have a lot of potential to score well. So I love the 5 rounds, but I usually want to be all in on 5 rounds regardless. But there is a scenario that this fight plays out where Waterson does get a takedown or 2. She does control a round or 2 from top position. And then Marina gets up eventually and can still win a decision, but not score that well. It's usually difficult to go 5 rounds and not score very well, especially with women's MMA, where the strikes pop out a little bit quicker at times, or, you know, where we've seen a little bit less power, where the strikes can add up a little bit faster, or just, I don't want to say women's MMA, any 115-pound MMA is going to go that way. So that's kind of what I wrote up here. I still love this fight overall. I definitely am picking Marina Rodriguez to get this win. I just don't think Waterson has shown that she's going to wrestle you for 5 rounds. She hasn't done it. I'm not saying she can't, but it's not been something that she's done. And, man, you know, hope and prayer that Marina has been practicing that takedown defense. At some point, you realize that's how you generally lose, and you should probably train to stop it. Probably should. Maybe they don't. I do think, though, in cash games, I would definitely stack this fight. The -200 doesn't go to decision. If we can get 5 rounds of striking from these 2 women or something in that range, or some takedowns from Waterson will score even in the loss. If she goes 5 rounds against Marina here, gets a couple takedowns, she's live for 50, 55, 60 fantasy points in a loss. Listen, that's more than some fighters scored in a win last week. My boy Michaelides, I don't even think he hit 60 fantasy points with that sad, pathetic win he put up last week. So ruining all of my fucking lineups, costing me thousands. Salty about it. But I don't see that for Marina here. If she's winning this fight, I actually think she could probably finish Waterson at some point with her big striking. But if not, she's going to land a lot. You know, 5 rounds worth of striking, certainly good enough for a cash score, even if she only scores 80, 85, 90 in the win. Fine by me. So I'll stack it in cash, pick a Marina to get this win. But if Waterson does win, I think she's probably in the nuts. I would say almost definitely in the nuts if she gets the win, no matter how it comes. With Marina, it's not 100% she makes that nuts lineup. You know, if Rogerio de Lima or Gregor or any of these guys priced around 9K winds up smashing, then, you know, they could definitely outscore Marina here. So, yeah, give me Marina for the win, but definitely both sides of this fight in cash and maybe in GPP and pretty much everything. I want a little exposure to Michelle just in case she finds a way to do it, but I don't expect her to. All right, guys, that does it for the breakdown. We've got Killshot time here, where we're going to take a look at our choice for some of the maybe an under the radar situation where a fighter might win and hopefully be in the nuts lineup. Somebody we want to go a little bit heavier on than the field. So I'll give you a second to think about it, Dan. I'm going to start with BigMarley here. Marley, what do you got for a kill shot for me?
I don't really have anything I love on this card. The ones that I like a lot are just going to be higher owned, like Hawes, so I don't think I can use him. So I'm going to go with Jurassic Park here, whatever his first name is, John Young Park, just because if he wins, I think he scores well.
I like it. I like it a lot. John Hyun Park. How about you, Dan? Who do you like here?
Oh, the kill shot's Carlos Diego Ferreira. When he becomes the first man in MMA history to submit Gregor Gillespie, not only is he going to, crush so many lineups, but it's just going to be one of those moments that we talk about for a long time. Like, remember when Anderson submitted Chael? Like, it's going to be a huge deal when Diego submits Gregor. So that's my kill shot 100%.
I love it. And I have to mention our boy Vince, who's also a big Best Fight Picks fan.
Shout out Vince.
Shout out to Vince. He did give us his kill shot, and it is also Diego Ferreira. So you are in very good company, Dan.
Here we go.
And we like to share the Vince kill shot because my guy has crushed it with the kill shots like you can't believe. He gives out a kill shot now with you. Fuck, man. Definitely getting some Diego exposure just for that reason. I love it. Okay. I was going to go. All right. For my kill shot this week, guys, I'm going with Cowboy Cerrone here. I don't think he's going to be high on. Maybe it's not a kill shot. Maybe he's going to be high on. I don't know. I'm not a Morono fan. Cowboy better everywhere. I love the line odds value on him. So give me Cowboy as my kill shot of the week. And guys, that's going to do it for the DFS Army Kill Shot podcast. Excited to welcome our new host, our new staffer, Dan, to the mix. So he'll be back every week, breaking these fights down with us, smashing some DraftKings and Fanduel, smashing those bookies as usual, and giving incredible breakdowns. So really psyched about it. Looking forward to doing more of these with you guys. And for everybody out there, man, we hope to see you at the top of the leaderboards. Helmets up, take down some money, smash those bets, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Good luck.